Good day, folks. NBWildman here again. Well, that's it. It's April 15th. Spring is upon us here in New Brunswick, and first day of bear season today. We've had a lot of snow. We got it early, and it's staying late. So as you can see here, there's still a lot of snow in the woods. But I'm out here doing a little quick video on selecting my spot for spring bear. So this video is going to be all about just how to kind of take a look around and select your spot, pick a good location for some spring bear. And I'll do another video on setting up the spot, and then again, hopefully I'll get a chance to show you some good bears, and then maybe even the bear hunt. But for now, this video is about selecting a location for your spring bear hunt. If you haven't yet subscribed to the NBWildman channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that bell, turn on those notifications so that you get notified when we upload new content here on the NBWildman channel. It'd be great if you leave us a comment, leave us a like, and always looking to connect with our viewers on whatever way we can. So anyway, let's get right to it. So you want to shoot a spring bear, or even if you just want to take some great pictures and some good videos, some mothers and cubs or whatever it is you want to do, you got to select a good location. So first of all, all my scouting starts on a map. So you look right here, up here in the corner, and I'm going to show you a map that I start with. So anyway, the reason I chose this location on the map is because in the fall, I saw some deer signs, so I tried to set up a deer spot, get on a real good trail, and I ended up getting some really nice pictures of some bears, some good sized bears and quite a few bears. So I scrapped the deer idea, and I'm going to turn this into a spring bear bait this year. So first thing you're going to want to do is make sure there's some bear in your area, of course. You know, do some scouting, see what's out there. It's hard in the spring because they're not quite out of their dens just yet, or they're just coming out now. But most of my scouting is done for bear in the fall, and that's typically you can bring them back there in the spring too. So once you know some bears in the area, then it's time to go ahead and set up your location. First thing I'm going to want to do is get landowners' permission if I don't own the ground. Fortunately for me, I own this piece of ground, so that's great, and I can kind of do what I need to do here to get it set up. Bear baits aren't always the cleanest. There's lots of bones left laying around sometimes, and typically you're going to want to use a barrel, either steel or plastic or whatever. So make sure that you clean it up when you're done, if it's not your ground or if you have permission or whatever that takes to get that done. I'm fortunate here, the local farmers are all for getting rid of some bears. They plant a couple hundred acres of corn each year, and they lose a lot to bears, so they're always keen to give us permission when it comes time to spring bear and fall bear hunt. So that's great. We're fortunate that way. So in selecting an area, I just wanted to kind of give you the layout of this piece of ground that I selected. Just directly in front of me is an old grown-up piece of farm ground, and that's basically an old pasture field, probably 5 to 10 acres or so in size, and it's grown up in mostly not raspberry bushes, like thorn bushes with the red berries, and it's grown up in apple trees, just old crab apple trees. So that's perfect. It's getting pretty thick now. It's growing up. They don't pasture cattle there anymore, so it's had 4 or 5 years to grow up. So that's a great location. Off to my right over here is a relatively large swampy area. It's got to be 40-50 acres of 2 or 3 different consecutive beaver dams and old dams, and there's one new dam on the lower end of it. So there's a swampy area to my right. There's old pasture ground out in front. Directly behind me here, there's an old skidder trail, and it goes back probably 70-80 yards, and then it hooks right, and it goes clear up along and comes out way up by the old farmhouse, probably a mile or more up past the old, up through here, up to where the old farmhouse was, where it connects onto the road. So that area is a perfect entrance, right? So when I look for an area, there's a few things to consider, and the first thing I consider is, number one, are the bears there? Number two, do I have permission to be on the ground and hunt the ground to get to and from where I'm going from? Thirdly, you got to realize you're going to lug bait, and you're gonna have to lug bait more and more often as the season progresses. So you got to have an area that you can get into either by quad, four-wheeler. You can get the truck close or whatever it is that you're going to need to bring your bait in. You don't want to be lugging your bait 3 or 4 miles through the woods unless you're a lot ruggeder than I am and got a lot more ambition. So this old road that comes down and turns is perfect for me. Because I can get the four-wheeler, within 50 yards of this bait site, and then that's a piece of cake from there. So I make sure that I've got a way to get bait in. I also have to consider getting a bear out. We're always looking for that 400 or 500 pound bear. We're hoping for that, and even if it's a 250-ish bear, you still got to get it out of the woods somehow, and I don't want a mile-long drag. So I'm okay with a 50-60 yard drag back to where I can get the four-wheeler in and then hightail it out of here. So there is always that consideration as well. So after access to the area, you want to make sure that you've got a stand location. And in this area, I know it looks pretty thick, but I'm just going to back up a little bit here. It looks pretty thick, but right here I've got access pretty much for where my barrel's going to go and where my actual bait's going to go. There's lots of little trees to hang stuff on if I need to do that, and there's also a flat area where you got a good look at any bears once they come into the bait. So I've also got in this same area, this is the area where I'm just standing right here. So this is where the bait's going to go, more or less, and I've got some rocky outcrops here, a lot of ledge in this piece of ground. So there's some big rocks here. That's great. Bears like to crawl over that and itch their backs on that and all that kind of stuff. And then as I swing around, I'm almost in a bowl right here. It's not real deep. I mean, and there's no water to speak of right here. You don't want to set your bait in a swamp. You certainly don't want it to be all wet and sloshing through the mud and the muck to get here. Bears don't mind, but you might. So anyway, as you can see, this was my location right about here where my barrel's going to go. And then I'm going to shoot from this lane right here. So I only need about 50 yards or so to shoot. And so as you can see, I've got a pretty well straight shot up this way. I will have to thin out just a few little tree branches kind of right here, a couple little branches up that way, but I've got a really good look right through here. And I only really want to be about 50 yards would be my maximum away from my bear bait. Some guys want to keep it in as close as 30. I'm going to be shooting with a rifle, so I'll back it up to about 50 yards, but I don't want to be any farther back than that, so that gives me a real good area here. So other than that, it's just a matter of getting your supplies ready. And you want to do your thinning, and you want to cut any little branches, and you want to get your tree picked out. You want to do all that stuff before you get your bait in here. You don't want to be doing that once the bears have realized your bait's in here and start hitting your barrel. So that's pretty much it for right now. This is, like I say, this video is all about just selecting your location for your spring bear hunt. And stay tuned to the NBWildman channel coming right up. Probably next week will be, once we get rid of a little more of this snow, I guess. I don't like to set my bear baits up while there's still snow on the ground. I don't want people to see where I'm kind of walking or going, and I like the snow to be gone off the ground when I set the baits, but we're supposed to get a bunch of rain this weekend, so probably be gone. I'll be in here a couple, 3 days. So stay tuned next week. We should have the kind of how to set up your initial bear bait, and I'll run 2 or 3 cameras in here to hopefully get you some good pictures of some bears. Until then, NBWildman out.